Good evening. Tonight we are going to talk about Summon House. I see that no one has been talking about this, even though it's a great series, so I thought I'd jump in and make an analysis video. This video is not a substitute for watching the series. Please watch it. It's great, it's about 30 minutes long right now, and the purpose of this video is only to help you understand the series once you've watched it, not to summarize it. So without further ado, here are all my thoughts about Summon House. Now, if we want to understand Summon House, I think we have to think of it as a game of chess. There's the board, which will represent space, there's the pieces, which will represent the actors, and there's the time, of course, the time element, because a game of chess doesn't just happen. Now, let's talk characters. Let's talk about the pieces of the chessboard, if you will. First off, there is, of course, the Summon House archivist, the owner of the Summon House YouTube channel that receives randomly on his recommended page videos of the Summon House. As you know, if you've read the descriptions of the videos of the YouTube channel and the community posts. What's important to keep in mind is that the Summon House archivist has no access to the Summon House program, none of the versions that we see in the series. He only has access to the videos he receives, and that's it. Then, of course, there's Alistair. Alistair is the character we hear the most from. He is the main character from episode 1, 3, 5, and 8. But most importantly, there are different Alistairs. Now, of course, there are the differences between episode 1, 3 and episode 5, wherein we see basically the same gameplay, but with minor differences. And the most important of these differences is the Katy Perry ringtone, which is not a Katy Perry song. I shazammed the song and there was no result, which proves that the song does not exist in our universe. And thus, Alistair from episode 5 is from a different universe than ours. But there's nothing to prove that Alistair from episode 1-3 is from our universe either. Now, I also think that Alistair 5 and Alistair 8 are the same person. I think that we have an Alistair 5-8 basically. Because Alistair 5 talks in a friendly manner over the phone to someone, and Alistair 8 is seen with a specific friend, which is not the case for Alistair 1-3, which is never seen interacting with anyone else. Which means that it's more likely for Alistair 5-8 to be a thing, rather than Alistair 1-3 being linked to Alistair 8. And the final nail in the coffin of Alistair 1-3 and Alistair 8 not being connected is a small detail in episode 8.
I saw it on Know Your Meme.
Though, looking up the Frozen Phantom on Know Your Meme will grant you no result, which means that Alistair 8 is probably from another dimension, probably from the same dimension as Alistair 5. Now, that's about it for Alistair. Let's talk about Alistair's friends. There's Sylvain, which appears in episode 8, as well as the Frozen Phantom, quote unquote. Sylvain is Alistair's friend. That's clear cut, that's like said in the very beginning, they're friends. I think that the Frozen Phantom is also Alistair's and Sylvain's friend. Major correction, I no longer think that the Frozen Phantom is friends with Alistair and Sylvain. A community post on the 21st of February 2024 points out what I call meme dissonance. That is, the fact that Tubular Times is rooted in 2010's humor, whereas the Frozen Phantom says WGAT, which are words that did not exist back then. Thus, they cannot be friends, as they do not share the same references. Rather, the Frozen Phantom has traveled through time from the mid-2020s back to the 2010s. The next major character, of course, is the Summon House itself. It has proven many times to be sentient. Not only is it able to understand prompts and summon them in-game, but it's also able to make references to the real world as if it's able to hear what people say around it while playing it. I also think that the player character, the point of view, the narration, is the same entity as the Summon House. I think so because it expresses fear at the idea of going to sleep in episode 7, knowing that it can be manipulated. Thus, it knows that it is the summon house, it knows of its own power, because it has knowledge of the possibilities and limitation of said power. Its insider knowledge of game functions is proof that it is a single entity. We also see two separate entities in the summon house, that is, dog and cat. First seen in episode 3, cat is defined by its pointy ears and signature giggle. Dog, on the other hand, features a round shape and is extremely loud, also he loves us. The two of them are clearly different entities, but what's more interesting is that we have seen that cat, unlike dog, has not been summoned. We did see that dog could interact with the player without being summoned in episode 5, but this is the first case of a sentient entity being summoned without player input. Finally, we know that the animal entities have some power over the game, as dog summons a dog house at the end of episode 7. The last 3 characters are much less relevant to the story. These are the video essayists, NE and Scare Daily, and the nameless Let's Player. I call him Purple Player, because it makes me think of Markiplier and he plays in the Purple Summon House. The one important thing to remember about Purple Player is that he's the one that summoned the dog, and because the dog appears in different summon houses, it will be of interest later. With this, we've discussed basically all the characters in Summon House. I might have missed some, but so far I think I've been thorough. Next, we are going to discuss the space element of the story, the checkerboard to our game of chess. We know of 3 summon houses and at least 2 dimensions. Obviously, Summon House 1-3 and Summon House 5-8 are different. Not only are Alistair 1-3 and Alistair 5-8 different people, but if you just simply look at the houses, because of the fact that they've received different inputs, they end up looking different. And also, the prompts given by the houses when inspecting the objects in the initial room without any summons are different. The Purple Summon House, I thought, was from a completely other dimension altogether, a 3rd dimension. It is not the case though. The Purple Summon House can be seen through the window in episode 5, thus we can conclude that episode 5, 8, and 7 are linked in the same dimension. Of course, if we look closely in the same episode, we can see another structure to the left, though there's really no telling what it is. My personal take on this occurrence is that it's probably Summon House 1-3. I've been having this hunch that tells me that the Summon House is actually a gateway through dimensions, but I have absolutely no proof to back it up. Another location to consider is, well, a location we do not know of yet. It's the place where the other characters in Summon House 8 went when they disappeared. Because we know that they disappear, but where to? Again, I have this hunch. I think the Summon House is a gateway through dimensions, and that those 2 people that disappeared were just added into the Summon House somehow. Again, totally no proof to back it up, but I have this hunch. Finally, time-wise, we know that the order of the videos as they appear on the channel is not an actual chronological order of appearance of occurrences. What is certain though is that Purple House is probably the oldest one we got so far, because Purple House clearly shows the summoning of the dog, which appears later on in Summon House 5. Plus, in Summon House 5, we can see outside the window that there is the Purple House, but outside the Purple House we cannot see Summon House 5. Thus, the Purple House must have been created before the Summon House 5. That's about it so far. I think I've covered everything that went through my mind when I tried to analyze all of this. there's probably still a lot of things to consider, such as some small changes in the summon house in episode 1-3. The cat, again, what is the cat? What does it do? How does it do it? The fact that the animal entities seem to appear and disappear. Lots of unexplained stuff so far, but I guess we'll get answers to it eventually. I'm not sure. Anyways, that's about it. Good night.